There's different types of cross-border relationships. There's the classic person in country X, person in country Y, and person from country X falls in love with person in country Y, and they have to actually get a visa to go there. Roughly 10% of marriages in the U.S. are binatural, sort of people that have crossed borders, one or the other, right? And that the U.S. has issued over 40,000 fiancé visas in 2022. For people that fall in love, they have the right to ask for a fiancé visa, but it's very strict. And you can come for 90 days. And at the end of 90 days, you either have to be married or go home.
In my country, the Philippines, going to find a bride, is taking a woman and I will bring you here and I will save you and then you can bring money back to your, thing. And I see it, but I also see it from like a victim perspective. I cherish differences so much that I actually had more fun being in the relationships that were different than me because I was learning. But then again, I'm also one of those people that it's like, I'm okay if this isn't always the way.
Welcome to a new episode of Disrupt the Podcast with your co-hosts Andres Tapia
And Eloisa Domingo,
where we challenge conventional thinking and we explore the new ways that are shaping our future.
So this is going to be a good conversation again today, Andres. We're talking about the disruption of relationships across borders, which really, Andres, we could take that a lot of different ways. I mean, because here's the thing, it depends on who you're talking about. I mean, for me, as a Filipina, and I'm full Filipina, and I was, born in Indianapolis, Indiana, raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, and in a variety of places. So what are we talking about here? Me dating somebody back in the Philippines or somebody in Siberia? I mean, what are we talking about across borders?
Yeah, it's going to get a little bit mushy, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's different types of cross-border relationships. There's the classic person in country X, person in country Y, right? And person from country X falls in love with person in country Y, and they have to actually get a visa to go there. That's one.
Yeah.
Now, that could happen just because of they fell in love in third country Z, and then they fell in love and they want to make it happen. Now, then there's the ones that are just transactional. The mail order bride concept, right? Which is a different nature, but that is also, and it still requires a visa, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's clear cut. Yeah. I think, but let's take it to the United States. There are people that are already here. Either both are from different countries, or one is from here and one is from another country. I would call that a clear cut cross-national, cross-border, because that person immigrated as an adult. And they came from another culture, their formative years are another culture, and they got to deal with the cross-culture issues.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it gets a little bit mushy might be in your kind of situation, where you are now the daughter of immigrants. You grow up
in the States.
So you did not do the cross-border. And now you, in your marriage, which is not here anymore, but you were in a relationship with someone not Filipino. So that's a cross-cultural relationship, but I would not necessarily say it's a cross-border.
Yeah.
Right? Because you grew up in, as much as it was Filipino household, it was an American culture. Yeah. So I think but it gets mushy. Because,
it does, I was going to say.
Because cross-border relationships have cross-cultural issues.
Yeah.
And cross-ethnic, cross-cultural relationships, even if they grew up in the same environment, have cultural issues. So I think we can talk about all of it.
All of it.
But I think there's some distinctions to be made.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I mean, so I guess I'm also, my assumption is that right now it must be easier, in the digital era with everything being virtual, essentially the world has become more and more flat because of the internet, so having relationships across borders is much, much easier, than when I was younger we would do pen pals, let's just take
pen pals. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think that what
throwback,
this is actually interesting too. When you said relationships, I automatically thought dating relationships, but, when I was younger and my family, we were the only Domingos that were here in the States. All of the other Domingos and the Bansuelos, which are on my mom's side, were still in the Philippines. Many of them still are. In order for me to retain my relationships with them, I had to write, and send letters, and we would send what's called balikbayan packages, which is put everything in a box and tape it up, and it's essentially affectionately called a balikbayan box. So I have experienced those types of cross-border, relationships and supporting them and having that type of thing. But because we didn't have the internet then, it was entirely reliant on sending stuff and writing, letters, which was just as exciting. I remember getting actually like letters in the mail, from my cousins. I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
But I mean, I would assume that now these things, are large. I mean, we've got all these statistics in front of us. My assumption is that this is much more popular, now.
Yeah, but yes and no. So are there a good number of, let's call it marriages? We're not even talking about pairings, just marriages. Roughly 10% of marriages in the U.S. are binatural, sort of people that have crossed borders, one or the other, right? And that the U.S. has issued over 40,000 fiancé visas in 2022.
Wow.
That's 40,000, right? So are there numbers there? Yes. How are people meeting? I think you're totally right that social media and the fact that people are traveling more,
Yeah.
And the fact that this country, the United States, has just become much more diverse.
Of course.
Despite all this going on politically, I was in a conversation with someone very close to me, and they were talking about their family, their immediate family, and she goes, and she says, there's 5 or 6 different relationships right around me. They're all cross-national, you know. So nephew number 1, Latin American, married a Korean. Nephew number 2, Latin American, married a Chinese. A third niece, Latin American, married to someone from the Middle East.
Yeah.
And then next person, sibling, dating someone from Eastern Europe. And this person talked about how just in the last year, within the United States, in the midst of all this xenophobia at the governmental level, doesn't seem to be deterring people at the romance level.
Yeah.
People are falling in love with each other across cultures and across nations. And even though our focus is more on the cross-border, these examples I gave you were all cross-border.
Yeah.
So it is a phenomenon. Now, where I say yes and no is that given the xenophobia and given the restrictions, like I wonder how many fiancé visas will be offered in 2025.
Right.
Because we're seeing just chopping.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see some pullback.
I agree with that.
But there's already a lot of people in this country, and let's say the ones that are fully documented by the millions that will remain here and are going to keep working and studying and fall in love.
Yeah.
So this issue, I think, is already, and the acceptance of people coming together from different cultures is just exploding.
Well, and I remember it makes me think about when I was at Indiana University, and we had a huge contingency of students from Asian countries who were coming to Indiana and to study, and then they would go, back home or or wherever, and so they would create relationships, dating relationships, friendship relationships, and so at that time, everybody kept the relationships, or some people got, like you said, got engaged. They would stay together. They would get married, over time, and even when I worked for a pharmaceutical company, we don't do it now because of all of the things that you just talked about. But the pharmaceutical company, we had what are they called when you go and you work in another country? Thank you, expats. Yeah. I could not think of that word. And so we had an expat program, And so when you're over there and then you're immersed in that culture, we had a number of people that would, fall in love or, whatever, and then they would marry or things like that. It also makes me think, I'm actually having almost like a visceral reaction because this inherently makes me, there's inherent, it is you have to be comfortable with long distance relationships, I think, with this kind of thing. And it's funny, Andres, because oh my gosh, I just can't do long distance relationships. I think that's one of the other things too. It's like, when you do cross border, I think it's one thing if we were here in Libertyville and I met somebody, who was from another country and it's like, oh, at least you're here, But if I met somebody from another country that was in that country, you inherently have to talk about, that long distance. And so I think it's really interesting that you talk about this concept that the world, and you and I agree, the world has become smaller, but yet we're finding all these other people and we're okay with a long distance,
Yeah. And I just found another statistic here that makes your point. That 23% of online daters, because you talked about the access, say that they formed a long distance or cross border connection. So I mean that's almost a fourth, right? And the global matchmaking industry, including international dating, is valued at $11 billion.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So it's big business.
yeah,
And a lot of people looking, and there's a lot more global mobility.
yeah.
People are leaning into it through love.
Yeah, no, right. Well, again, this is the cynic. This is the cynic in me and I tend not to be very cynical, but I don't know, maybe it's because of my recent dating experiences, is that I think that people are also looking, outside because there may be a way, I mean, at least digitally, to kind of, not necessarily, I'm not saying catfish other people, but, you can be this other person behind, the window, you can create who it is that you are. I mean, I don't do that for the people who are talking to me on dating apps, but, I don't, just to be clear. But no, I mean, this is just an interesting concept because all of this, you talk about cross-border, it intrinsically means long distance. It intrinsically means, trying to be honest and sincere, and not catfishing, but you have the opportunity to do that. I mean, you could easily, do that. And then, I think you and I have talked about love so much and, creating a real trusting, loving relationship over all of those variables, borders, cultures, timing, time zones.
And by the way, the digital platform increases the pool of availability.
Correct, it does.
Increases complexity because, available to have a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
But to your point, people want to be close to each other.
They do.
Which I think brings me to wanting to talk about the 90-day fiancé. Right? Because, many people know about it because it's made famous through the TV reality show. But for many people don't know, and it's a very particular thing in the United States that for people that fall in love, they have the right to ask for a fiancé visa, but it's very strict. And you can come for 90 days. And at the end of 90 days, you either have to be married or go home. And that puts a lot of pressure on a couple. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, we'll keep going, Andres, because full transparency, I only know a little bit about the show, but did they know each other before the 90 days or no? Did they just walk in?
Well, I think it varies.
Okay.
Some may have just, to the example that you gave, one went on vacation and they met in Paris, they were just tourists in Paris from two different countries.
Okay.
Or one was from the country and one was from here.
Okay.
And they fell in love. It might have been a summer fling, a trip fling, but they decided you're the one.
Yeah, got it.
But this becomes very complicated because the U.S. government really puts a lot of weight on that couple proving that the love is real and not a sham or not a scam, and that this is not a way to get to the U.S. and legally and have a visa and document it.
And the U.S. thinks that can happen in 90 days?
Well, usually they look at history.
Okay.
Like, how long have you been dating?
Okay.
And I know many stories, given, where I'm from, of these 90-day fiancé visas. And it's pretty strict. They have to demonstrate through a variety of ways that this relationship is legitimately romantic. You know how they do that?
How?
Well, you got to tell the history.
Okay.
When you met, how long ago you met.
Okay.
And the more you can document the story through pictures. This is us in this country traveling together. This is the fiance,
Yeah.
Meeting the parents or being with the extended family or being in this one in this the house of the other and vice versa. And this was 7 years ago, and this was 5 years ago, and this was 3 years ago. So the more longevity you have, and the more the pictures prove that these persons were a part of each other's lives,
Got it.
the better the chance to get the fiancé visa.
Okay.
Now, the visa is granted.
Yep.
The person comes to the U.S.
Okay.
And they're giving 90 days to be engaged, basically.
Got it.
Right? And then, but at the end of 90 days, you got to either have been married and prove it through a marriage certificate, or you got to go home.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm being cynical. So a couple things. Number one, couldn't you just fabricate those pictures? I mean, like, like if you were my person and we're like, okay, we're going to get you in, here. So like, you're going to go meet my parents and we're going to fabricate this picture. I'm going to go meet your parents. And we could fabricate that over time, and then, okay, so then okay, so fine. So they get here, 90 days goes past, we get married. You and I get married in 60 days. We made it before the 90-day. You could annul the marriage, right? Or what is the
that
stipulation?
can happen, yeah. That's up to the government to figure out, to sniff it out, right?
Yeah.
Is this legit or not?
Got it.
Because then each one is interviewed.
Okay.
So it's almost like the newlywed game or the dating game, right? What do you know about this other person?
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
And there has to be I don't know, technically if it's an affidavit or a voucher, but there has to be a third party saying this is legitimate.
Yeah.
So it could be a parent, or it could be a friend, it could be a relative.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Who will then ascertain, on my word, that this is a legitimate relationship.
Wow.
So they have to do an affidavit too.
Okay.
So everybody's sworn in.
Right.
And the majority are legit. There's no question.
Okay.
And then there's those that are not.
Yeah.
And the government tries to sniff out those that don't.
Got it.
And sometimes they get it right. Other times they don't get it right.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, I mean, I think that I'm surprised. That's good to know that most of these are legitimate, that they do, work. I think the conspiracy theorist in me is like, oh, this is, you could.
Yeah, but it's tough because let us, even when it's in the majority of times when it's legit, what a pressure on the couple.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's only 3 months.
Yeah, it's not long.
And and I want to get to the cross-cultural stuff because you have, one of them, by the definition of our topic, is cross-border. Mm-hmm. That person is coming from their country to this country. And they have an emerging relationship. It could have been several years old or a few months old.
Yeah.
So they're working out the relationship, but they're now
with the additional pressure.
And then and it's asymmetrically off because one is from this country and the other one is adjusting.
Yeah.
And you and I know, even for you who grew up here and for me that grew up outside the U.S. but with an American mom, even there, because we're from different cultural households, we have to adjust to mainstream, United States.
Yeah.
So,
and that's tough.
And imagine someone who did not even grow up here or did not have a parent from here. They have to adjust. And you don't adjust to a country in 3 months.
In 3 months.
So they're doing cross-cultural adjustment to the overall country.
Yeah.
They're now adjusting to the relationship.
Yep.
And now this person that they met in, I don't know, Lagos on some safari,
on a resort.
or Nairobi on some safari trip. Suddenly, the person's back home in their own stomping grounds.
Yeah.
And the other one is completely fish out of the water.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So they got to navigate that.
Is huge.
And in the meantime, they have the pressure to say, you're going to get married or not?
Right. At the end, and then you're going to go away. Wow. Yeah. I wonder if I would do that. I don't know if I would do that, but I'm hugely competitive. So if somebody said you've got 90 days to do it, I just figure it out.
Well, but if you ever have you ever watched?
No, I need
90 Day Fiancé?
No, I need to watch it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty painful. Because some of the stories are very extreme. Like they just barely met, or they don't even speak each other's languages.
Oh wow!
Some of them just went to another country to find. Usually it's to find a bride, usually.
Okay.
It's usually a guy traveling, right?
Okay.
And so the connection is very tenuous.
Yeah.
And they may not have much in common at all, even language.
Yeah.
So when they get in front of the cameras, it's like cringy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, really? I mean.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I'm paying attention to like my visceral reactions, here because in my country, the Philippines, or my home, my heritage country, the Philippines, going to find a bride, is, finding these Filipina women, because they are exotic and they are, we are considered a quote third world country. And so, taking a woman and I will bring you here and I will save you and then you can bring money back to your, thing. And I just need you,
And you see an expectation would be more of a traditional
Oh,
role,
yeah.
female role.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And, I think, I think that's where I'm having a little bit of like, like trepidation around, I see it, but I also see it from like a victim perspective,
Well,
so.
let's. I think it's important to spread it out.
Yeah.
There is the true sort of transactional exploitation sale of young women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that and almost like slave trade, sex trafficking kind of thing, or something, maybe not the trafficking part, but it's really, the terrible term of mail order bride, but where it's really there's no that's the difference. There's no relationship.
There's no relationship. Yeah,
okay?
I got it. No, you're right.
There's a matchmaking, but the matchmaking is not even about compatibility.
This is good because this is where I was. I like the distinction that you just made there because I think I was like doing just like.
And I'll keep going on that one.
Like, I think I was doing like everything.
Yeah. So we'll make a distinction. Yeah,
I'm good. Okay.
So there's that, and that's real. But they all have to do 90-minute fiance
90 days.
visas. They all have to do 90-day fiance visas. All besides the law. But then they're the ones that met on the summer vacation, on a trip, on a Peace Corps mission or whatever, and there's a legitimate fall in love.
And a connection.
And connection. And then others came to the U.S. to be students. So they came in an expat assignment, and they also fell in love, right? So it's a whole spectrum.
Yeah.
But to get married in the United States and have a visa to come and to stay, the rules are the same.
Wow.
And I can't say this for a fact, but the 90-Day Fiancé show, which I've watched on occasion because it is intriguing. I love the cross-cultural stuff.
Yeah.
But they kind of, because it's TV, they tend to pick the most cringy situations. And like,
I need to watch it.
Really? Like, oh my God, right? But once in a while there'll be one that is, oh man, that's a beautiful love story, right? But all of them have to deal with the reality of the time pressure. 90 days. And it's so stressful. And I've seen it, with friends.
Yeah.
Where they have to go through that.
Wow.
And, but there's no choice.
Yeah,
because if you don't go for the 90-day visa and you try to go for a tourist visa or a student visa or some other visa, you a lot of times, especially now, people are getting denied. So sometimes people that fall in love who are not ready to get married in 90 days.
Yeah.
But if they want to be together, they have no choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's right. I'm saying, like, I've seen couples that they love each other.
Yeah.
But they like to be kind of dating maybe for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But they don't want to. To your point, they don't want a long distance relationship.
Oh, so yeah. So then they would just default to this. Yeah. No, I could see that. I could totally see that. That's actually really interesting. But I mean, I don't know. The cross-cultural piece about getting into, my assumption as well too. I mean, when you get into a relationship and you're really wanting to marry somebody, my belief is you need to live together. So like you said, you live together within this small period of time, and this other person who comes from this other country, they have no support system either here. So that must be.
Yeah, and think about it. I mean, a lot of people now, it's just common norm to actually live together. Like, take out the cross-border, right?
Yeah,
people fall in love, they're very
together.
serious.
Yeah.
Let's live together. And that living together time before they decide it's not going to work out or it's going to work out, it's not 3 months.
No.
How long do you think it is?
A year.
Exactly, right?
A year.
But the cross-border people feel that they need to live together, but they only have 3 months to do it.
Yeah, to figure it out. That's not.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I want to switch gears a little bit here. Okay, that's a 90-day fiancé. Let's look at the ones that they're cross-border, but the documentation is worked out. Either they did the 90-day fiancé, they got married, and that's good. I mean, it's legit, and it's good, and it's healthy, and they're not trying to get divorced or anything because it's not a scam or a thing like that. Or those that did not require 90-day fiancé visa, because for whatever different reasons, both parties have the right documentation, but they actually meet our definition of what a cross-border relationship is. What happens in those relationships in terms of the cross-cultural differences?
You have to give it to me again.
So they've overcome all the visa legal stuff, And so now, and they're in love,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still a cross-border,
Yeah.
cross-cultural relationship. What are some of the challenges that these couples face?
Well, I mean, anything from, first of all, if you want to just start language, I mean, are we all on the same page in terms of, language? Second, so you're talking tactical things, language, food, time zones, all this other stuff. But then additionally, I mean, what is your definition of this relationship, between either a male or a female or a male and a male? I mean, what constitutes your relationship in your culture? How do you expect to be treated? How am I expecting to be treated? What are the norms, between those kinds of things? I think that there's a lot, even the cleanliness. I mean, I think that there's a lot that you work through.
Well, and I'll go first person here. I was in a cross-border relationship because I came from Peru.
Mm-hmm.
When I came for college. Everybody knows my asterisk is I was born in the U.S., but my parents, Peruvian dad, American mom, 9 months old, went to Peru, and I grew up there, and that was a Peruvian formation. So when I came to the U.S. for college, I was cross-border, cross-border student, right? And then I fall in love with Lori, and we get married. So you have this Peruvian with American mom, grew up in Peru, urban, Catholic, right? And she is German American, Mennonite American Baptist, Kansas prairie girl. We had cross-border
That's a lot.
challenges.
That's a lot.
It was both the attraction as well as the tension.
Yeah.
Right? And so any cross-border relationship experiences not only those things that you mentioned, but differences in worldview.
Yeah.
Right? How do you deal with conflict?
Yeah.
What's good communication?
Yeah.
Right? The role of family in relation to the couple. Right?
Yeah.
Views of raising children and how to raise them.
Right.
These are profound things rooted in different cultures, worldviews, histories, religious, philosophical beliefs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, for me, if you're able to get past those things or through those things, I think that's where it becomes really this idea of mestiza, like how, the mixing, of the two and the finding of the what is the arrangement? How are we going to handle
But
this?
even though you land in that more gray area, that's not technically cross-border, but yet you're the daughter of immigrants. They were cross-border into here. So let's just go with that. In your marriage, from which you're divorced now, but wasn't that a cross-cultural relationship?
Yep. Yeah.
How was it different? Well, how was it cross-culturally different?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, in terms of race, so Filipino and then white, Irish, German. He also is Christian. I'm Catholic, Roman Catholic, and we were very Roman Catholic. Very always going to church, always prayed, always did the rosary. And it was very distant. His religion was very distant, from him. We also had a lot of tribal beliefs. We were very superstitious. We were a very superstitious family and culture. It was very for his family and for him. It was very no, we're not. It's just very black and white. It's just very in all frankness, Andres, it was a very use this word really sparingly here, but a relationship of colonization, and it was I was this free spirit, brown girl, that was passionate and loud. And because of the way that Filipinos, or at least my part of the Philippines, would communicate was loud and boisterous and passionate. And I remember he didn't bring milk home one day. And I specifically asked, hey, I need you to go get milk. And he came home and he didn't have milk. And I just lost it. And I wasn't mad. I was being Filipino. I was I went loud and I was what, the milk? I needed it for this. I specifically told you and you didn't bring it. We were actually in a really good part of our relationship, a really good part of our marriage. And he was I need you to calm down. You need to stop. He went what we call low and slow, And because he wasn't matching me, I was
you got madder.
I got madder. I got more Filipino, and then he got more more whatever, that. And I remember we happened to have friends and family in the area, and he got upset, and they were like, she wasn't mad at you, dude. Like that's
Being expressive.
Yeah, she's being Filipino. And like, so what was interesting is he later learned, and one day I did it again, and he was like, I said, oh my God, you didn't XYZ. And he was like, I know. And I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much, because you saw me, like you see me, like that's amazing. So you're right. I mean, so for us, it was even those very tactical things about like you said, how do you handle conflict? What is the raising of the voice? All
What
this
does it mean?
other,
It means different things, different
and
cultures.
It totally
right?
means different things in different cultures.
But in one culture, his raising the voice is something. It's like a threat or an antagonistic thing.
It's aggressive.
And yours is a form of engagement.
It is. It
right?
is. It's passion. And it's almost an asking of come here. Enable. Yeah.
Yeah. So some examples from us when I was married to Lori for all these years, one of the biggest cultural differences was our view of not only family, but also friends at your house.
Oh.
So a German American Mennonite, more farming.
Yeah.
It's much more private, much more nuclear family.
Yeah.
And most traditional. And it's just the parents, and that's the nuclear, and the children.
Mm-hmm.
But in Latin culture, the family is that plus.
Yeah. Extended.
The multiple generations,
right.
The extension. It's not just your first cousins; it's your second, third, fourth, fifth cousins.
Yeah.
And so I remember the first time I invited Lori to Peru, and we were in college and we were dating. I said, "Hey, we're going to have a cousins reunion." She says, "Oh, okay." Only later did I find out in her mind when I said cousins reunion, she imagined 4 or 5 people.
Sure.
So by the time the 45th person walked into the house for the cousins reunion, Lori looked at me and says, "I have to go on a walk." She was completely overwhelmed. And not only was it in that moment, but then when we were now married and it had shared it, we were living in the same house, we had the same issue, but now with friends. I would say, "Hey, Lori, let's have a party." Okay, great. Who should we invite? Oh, how about this person, this person?
Right.
Okay, so, the list, right? And the list had maybe 15 people.
Sure.
Well, for her, that was a complete list. For me, that was the beginning of the list.
Yeah.
So early on, I learned, okay, but early on, I was so enthusiastic because I love parties and this expression in Peru called todo el mundo. ¿Quién está invitado? Who's invited? Todo el mundo, the whole world.
The whole world, yeah.
So I had my 15 people that I told, and then I kept telling other people, "Hey, party at my house, party in Lori's at my house, party at our house, da 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 da." So I had the same issue. So by the time the 45th, 50th person walked into the house, he goes, "What happened to the list of 15 people?"
Yeah.
So it wasn't bad intention, but because of our different worldviews and our cross-border romance, we chose a much more difficult, more enriching path, but a much more difficult one.
Yeah, right. Which I think, that's what I was saying earlier on this idea of mestiza is the mixing of two cultures. But people often use the word mestiza to talk about the baby, who is, bicultural, biracial. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what the beauty is of all of this, at least for me. I mean, going through the 90 days, and proving the 90-day, like, yes, we can do it, But yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the thing about, working through all of that. There has to be some level of accommodation. There has to be a level of maybe even humility of value of what value you thought was of value, or that was the only way that it was going to work. This is the only way that we were going to fight. And kind of dismantling that a little bit and allowing for like you said, other worldviews to say like, oh well, maybe what I was doing wasn't necessarily wrong either. It's just that there are other ways,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that those in cross-border relations, maybe the beginning of it, or those that are well into it, probably most of my network, because of who I am, and then the marriage I had with Lori, were cross-border.
Yeah.
And across that pool of people, there's everything.
Yeah.
But there's always difficulty. Marriage is difficult, or even a committed relationship is difficult for all the reasons we know. But one that's cross-border and cross-cultural is accentuatedly difficult.
Yeah.
And the marriages that made it, or the companionships and partnerships that made it,
Yeah.
right? Whether they're same sex or opposite sex, that cross-cultural difference was part of the richness of it.
Yeah.
But they had to work their way through it.
Absolutely.
And then there's also plenty of stories where the cross-cultural differences were too much to bear.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think that that's real, as well. I think that's real as well. And I think I don't know. I think that the conversation that we had today is really like I think the biggest thing for me at least is just to I don't know, to try. I mean, like you, Andres, if I think really about all of my friendships, my relationships, I don't know if I've ever really dated a Filipino. I think I dated one that was a Filipino American. So it was also the son of immigrants who was born and raised here in America. And there were a lot of good, it was fun, it was because there were so many similarities. I guess for me though, I don't know, I cherish differences so much that I actually had more fun being in the relationships that were different than me, because I was learning how to, hone just skills or, but then again, I'm also one of those people that it's like, I'm okay if this isn't always the way, although I will say, I mean, like you come from Peru, I come from, my heritage is the Philippines. You and I actually have a lot of similarities in the way that we argue, in the way that we have passion, in the way that we interact together. And there was actually also a comfort there, I mean, there is an informality, there is just a level of like, and you and I haven't even known each other for that long, but when I first met you, and there was for me at least an immediate comfort because I could see myself. I could see a lot of the same things in you.
But
and
there's historical reasons for that, right? There was Spanish conquest of the Philippines, for wasn't it
44 years.
44 years, right? And but those 44 years had huge impact because there's there's someone I'm working with now in the Philippines. Her name is Cyrene Garcia.
Right. Domingo.
Right, in Domingo, right? And there's several words in Tagalog that are Spanish words, right? Yeah. And there is a cultural affinity, right? There is. And you've mentioned several of those. Yeah. So that the navigation of these differences really, I think in the end, there's an attraction to the difference, and you described it.
Yeah.
But for those that are attracted to the difference, we're choosing a more difficult path.
We are.
But agreed. I think it's one of those high risk, high reward situations.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I would agree. Yeah. No, I agree. So what do you think?
Yeah. So what any takeaways from this conversation?
No, I mean, for me, I just appreciate the fact that exactly what you said, actually. For me, the takeaway really is that you are inherently, as you go into relationships of difference, you inherently have to make a choice, and really it's not just a choice, an overall choice. I'm going to do this. It's a choice every day, it's a choice every day, I mean, and you always have to kind of like trip up to think like, oh, wait a second, is this just a cultural difference, between the two of us? I mean, is this just the way that he is and this is the way that I am? Am I reacting, to this, differently? I remember I've interacted with guys in the Philippines, at least for my family, my culture. One of the ways that we interact, that we communicate, is actually personal space. So for me, personal space is not that big of a deal. And actually, the more distance that there is between me and the other person, especially somebody that I care for, like, or want to get to know, or I want to show, I actually close the distance. So you can imagine, Andres, here's me, a Filipina, closing distance to a guy, and all it is like I might be in a workspace or something like that, and me putting my hand on a guy's arm to show engagement or whatever, isn't that it's a nuance, that for me in my culture is actually a sign of, like you said, engagement, enablement. It is a message of like, hey, I get you, I see you. That has been twisted and twisted, and so those are choices I have to make constantly because I want to be authentic and I want to be my full self. At the same time, I also have to understand the consequences, right, of some of those things that I do.
Yeah, and you're speaking of social distance reminds me of when I was not clued into that. I'd be at a party talking with somebody who was, European American with a much greater social
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah.
And so we'd be talking and connecting. And so in that, I felt that the space was too wide.
Sure.
So I would step
You're
in,
moving. Yeah.
and then they would step back, and I step forward, and they step back,
Yep.
forward, back.
Yep.
And what would happen is, as if sometimes that happened by the hors d'oeuvres table, and once I started realizing that's what I did to people, I would pay attention to if I was reaching down my hand and grabbing something different, a different hors d'oeuvre, I was moving the
knew
person
you were
down. Yeah,
moving.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and it wasn't necessarily a romantic conversation, but these cultural differences even affect something as pragmatic
Yeah.
as social distance. One takeaway
Yep.
inferred, but I want to make it explicit, is even though when we fall in love across borders, even though we don't intend it to be a political statement,
Oh, interesting.
it is,
Yeah, that's interesting.
especially in this era.
Yeah.
Because to fall in love with someone from a different culture and fall in love with someone from a different border, in a time when immigration and documentation status have been politicized,
Yeah.
is to step into a fraught situation, not only interpersonally, like we talked about, but also politically. But those that still choose to do that are choosing to take a higher risk for themselves relationally, because it's high risk, high reward. But I think they're being defiant to the xenophobia
Yeah.
and the exclusion of people who are different.
Yeah. You know, it makes me think, and I know that we're trying to wrap up here, but you know what it makes me think of is just, it's a very classic Romeo and Juliet, the classic Romeo and Juliet, you know, concept is what is the border? Like, what is the concept of the border? You know, what is the concept of the difference? There's a Romeo, and it made me automatically think there's a Romeo and Juliet story in the Philippines, that there were two warring tribes and there was a wall between the two of them. And the daughter of the chief on the one side and the son of the chief on the other side fell in love. But they were warring with one another. And of course, both tribes eventually found out. They said, oh my gosh, you can't do this, you know. And the day before the war, the girl and the boy decided to try to jump over the wall to see each other and try to see if they could help, you know. So they went over the wall and they tried to see each other. And as they were going over, the two tribes actually killed each other. And where they fell, the ashes, or where the body fell, this scent emanated from where the bodies fell. And then vines grew, and the sampaguita flower, which is the flower of the Philippines. Sampaguita means I promise you in the Philippines. And at that point, the sampaguita flower is actually the flower of the Philippines, which stands for love, fierceness, and tenacity. And that is the story of like trying to cross a border, and that it didn't matter. It shouldn't matter, you know, that I promise you that it's all going to be okay and that we should love each other. So I think about that. And so like, what is the concept of a border, you know? But yeah, and certainly it is this anti-politics, you know, this concept of like love is love is love. You know?
Love is love is love.
That's right.
Love it.
That's right.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining this conversation on Love is Love is Love. Have you been in a relationship across borders? Have you been in a relationship where you have, are you a 90-day fiance? Oh my gosh, we would love to hear that story. Yeah. So comment on that. You can find Andres where you can find Andres on all of his platforms. Find me on all of our stuff. Please like, comment on this. Follow and subscribe, because we need you to subscribe and to continue to get all of the messages that we are having these great conversations. And yeah, love someone across a border.
Yeah. So quite the adventure. Okay. Ciao.
Bye.